The English language is an interesting thing. What meant one thing a very long time ago now means something almost the exact opposite, and sometimes that change hides intention, layers of reasoning in something so clear it's been staring us in the face for almost a decade. This is the story of one magical card. You could probably guess who I'm going to pick, and honestly, if you don't know my background in Magic, it shouldn't come as a surprise when I say my favorite card in this game is Xenagos, God of Revels. Xenagos was my first commander, and has been a fixture of my time in Magic ever since I re-entered during Kaladesh block. Mechanically, the card is sufficiently unique. 1 red, 1 green, and 3 colorless gives you a legendary creature enchantment you know as a god, and if you play your cards right, you might just be able to turn him into a real creature. Until then, Xenagos acts through your own creatures, doubling their power and giving them haste until end of turn. But that's obvious. What is it about this card that is so alluring to me? Well, this card is wrapped in subtext. It's all in the aesthetic and how the English language has changed, and moreover, how the mythos of Theros interacts with Hellenistic Greece. Xenagos, as a character, is sort of a different take, lore-wise, from what you are used to when you think of a cruel planeswalker. You think of someone who will enable combat, like Domri or Samut. Xenagos doesn't. As a matter of fact, all his planeswalker card does is give you more resources, like mana, creatures, and cards if you ultimate him. But as a character, despite being inherently cruel, he is depicted as a schemer, a leader. He is the leader of the satyrs in Setessa, where all they do is party and drink, but Xenagos doesn't partake. He merely sits on his throne and watches, and is known as King Stranger to his own people because of his refusal to participate. Is he violent? Absolutely. He killed his own mother, and while Xenagos has never been afraid to take a life, he won't do so unless it benefits him in some way. In all of his encounters with Elspeth, Xenagos never directly engaged her. He merely tried to cause her indirect harm with visions, and even while she lay there sleeping, Xenagos never physically assaulted the knight. Why? Why would someone randomly go about causing all of this pain and destruction if they were just merely a frat house satyr? Because Xenagos isn't a frat boy. Not anymore. When he ascended as a planeswalker, Xenagos learned the truth that the gods were products of the belief of the people. And when he learned this, Xenagos was genuinely traumatized. In the same stroke of stomping out his devotion to any god, the realization killed Xenagos' desire to party. He wanted to show the others what he had learned. Xenagos had planned this, all of this, all in the name of ascending to godhood and showing the Therans his truth. Constructing the idea of the reveling King Stranger to be some drunken king to hide his true plans, the sieges on the polis, killing the oracles, causing mass panic amongst the populace, all in the name of distracting the gods. Being captured and beaten by the Acroans and losing at Akros, the means for his ascension, and triggering Elspeth's PTSD mid-sleep to kill Daxos, the nail to drive between her and Heliod. Xenagos, by no means, is a frat house boy who got lucky. He is actually remarkably resourceful, which brings us to our next point, English. As I said at the beginning, English is a very complicated language. Millenniums of words being taken from their root language and being changed through time has set a paradigm in a remarkable way. Like, for example, the word meme has changed from being sort of a societal act or behavior and has transitioned into a culture revolving around media like images or video. Clue used to mean ball of yarn, and the word revel has also changed with time as well. We all know what revel means, to passionately enjoy oneself at a party, but if you trace the word back, you find its Latin roots in the word rebellare. It means to rebel. Okay, fine, maybe hitting you with Latin is a bit showy, fine. Then let's take it to its old French roots, with the word reveler, to say around the 1800s. To rise in rebellion. Ah, well, that answers that. Everything about the character was designed to be offset from what everything in Theros was supposed to be. He isn't pure Gruul since none of his abilities enable combat, he isn't a good satyr since he doesn't even party anymore, and frankly, I don't think we can find a better mirror to Heliod if we tried. Xenagos is everything Heliod hates reflected back at himself. He hates disorder, but will destroy cities on a whim for not showing proper devotion. He shuns the Minotaurs and Satyrs for being too hedonist, but willingly murders his own champion in cold blood. Does Xenagos do bad things? Yes, all the time. But he doesn't try to hide that fact where Heliod hides it behind the mask of religious zealotry. Xenagos is from these lands, but he is so different from those he was brought up alongside that it's almost like he is a stranger. Heliod is not but the personification of what the Therans believe, and to rise to the level of godhood is an affront to their beliefs and the idea of gods being worth much of anything, and gave the truth to the idea that literally anyone can become a god, and to some, that idea is appealing. So, as a means to put an end to this heresy, Heliod sends Elspeth to kill this stranger. This is where we will quickly flash back to the card itself. Xenagos' ability allows him to target another creature you control, not itself. Xenagos cannot get any bigger without added help, and when he finds himself as a god, he finds he is having that exact problem, and he is having to devour Nynxborn in order to maintain his form, and with that he is quickly running out of options until Elspeth arrives. Xenagos is slain without too much of a fight, but what we do find is that with his death, he falls into Nynx and is gone forever. Xenagos is dead, and to some, martyred. He enters the realm of sainthood to some, and by the time of beyond death, he is a memory of the past. Hellenistic Greece is a very big inspiration for Theros. That's obvious considering that everything about it, as the gods are all mixes of a bunch of different Greek and Roman gods. Heliod is obviously Zeus, but he's also based off the Greek goddess Electrona. But the interesting bit is Xenagos was in fact inspired by one in particular, Dionysus. Dionysus is the god of wine, grape harvest, winemaking, wine, fertility, ritual madness, and religious ecstasy, as well as theater. And in terms of history, he is arguably the oldest we can trace back. But with that being said, he has plenty of epithets. Demeter Dionysus, the twice-born, Agrios Dionysus, the wild, or even Elentherios Dionysus, the liberator. Well, that's convenient. Theatrical enough to be the king of drunks without drinking, ambitious enough to try to usurp the gods seemingly bordering on madness, and to top it off, he is a satyr, half man, half goat, the animal that would be sacrificed to Dionysus at his festivals. Dionysus was a child born to Semele and Zeus. Oh, Zeus. You and your sexual escapades. And had violent tendencies all his own, and was a stranger to the pantheon for some time. Xenagos was raised by a single mother who had to contend with her own son's violent urges as well. Even his own name. Yeah, you thought the name Xenagos was some gibberish like Durba, but nah. Those words have backgrounds in Greek. Agos means leader, and Xenos means stranger. Stranger leader. King stranger. Stranger to the pantheon and to his own people. See? Layers. Xenagos is a well thought out character, all centering around the act of rebellion framed by the story of Dionysus. But wait, trap. Xena died. What about Dionysus? Well, funny you mention that. So, when Hera found out about Dionysus, she tore him to shreds and left nothing but his heart, only to be rescued by Athena. Thus, the epithet twice-born. This is what I love about Xenagos, because the card alone has led me down such a rabbit hole of learning about just one Greek god and their trials and tribulations, and using one child's card game. You too can learn how to plan a great party and how to upsert your own form of godhood. This video was made in collaboration across multiple creators with the help of one man known as Ravnican Artist. Go over to his channel, check it out. The link's in the description.